In a world gripped by silence and suffering, where the cries of a people had gone unanswered for centuries, one man, exiled, weary, and alone, stood at the edge of destiny. His name was Moses. Raised in Pharaoh's palace but forged in the wilderness, Moses thought his time had passed, his purpose dissolved in the sands of Midian. But on a seemingly ordinary day, something extraordinary would happen. A flame that did not consume, a voice that shook the earth without thunder, and a calling that would rewrite history. This is the moment when God broke the silence, not with armies or thunderbolts, but with a burning bush. The sun beat down over the desolate hills of Midian, a harsh and arid region where rocks baked under the heat and the wind howled with the secrets of ages past. For 40 years, Moses, now an older man with furrowed brow and calloused hands, had lived as a shepherd in these wilderness lands. He was no longer the proud prince of Egypt. That life of fine linens, gold-tipped sandals, and royal power was long behind him. His days were now filled with the bleating of sheep, the search for pasture, and the silence of exile. Each step Moses took was heavy with memory. He had once tried to rise against injustice, striking down an Egyptian taskmaster who beat a Hebrew slave. But rather than becoming a liberator, he became a fugitive. The Hebrews did not rally to him. Pharaoh sought his life, and Moses fled, seeking refuge among strangers, marrying the daughter of a Midianite priest and settling into obscurity. But though Moses had forgotten his dream, God had not. One morning Moses led his flock beyond the usual grazing grounds, driving them toward the far side of the wilderness, to a mountain known as Horeb, also called the Mountain of God. The air was dry and clear. Dust curled around his ankles with every step. The sheep bleated softly, unconcerned. Moses, lost in his thoughts, never expected anything unusual. But that day, destiny was waiting in the form of fire. Suddenly, his eyes caught sight of something strange. A bush, a flame, its branches dancing with fire, but not being consumed. It was not uncommon for dry shrubs in the desert to ignite in the scorching sun. But this was different. The flames were alive, pulsing with an energy that defied nature. Moses narrowed his eyes. The bush burned, yet it remained whole. No smoke, no scent of ash. Just fire, glorious, mysterious, and otherworldly. Curiosity piqued, Moses said to himself, "I will go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up." With cautious steps he approached, every hair on his body alert, the silence deepening. Then, a voice like thunder wrapped in silk, a whisper that carried the weight of eternity. "Moses! Moses!" He froze. His heart pounded. The sheep scattered, and with trembling lips he replied, "Here I am." "Do not come any closer," the voice warned. "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Moses dropped to his knees, unfastening his sandals with shaking hands. The dust burned beneath his feet, not with heat, but with sacredness. He didn't know how, that he was in the presence of the divine. The voice continued, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." And Moses, now trembling, covered his face with his hands. He dared not look toward the bush. A reverent fear overtook him, the knowledge that he stood not before myth, not legend, but the God of all creation. Then the voice spoke again, this time not with thunder, but with compassion. "I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard their crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey." Moses listened in stunned silence. Had God finally heard? Was the ancient promise not forgotten? But then came the words that changed everything. "So now, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." Moses reeled back. Him? After all these years? A broken man, a fugitive, a shepherd with no army, no influence, no voice. The words caught in his throat. "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" But the voice answered firmly, "I will be with you." Moses, still unsure, asked, Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you. And they ask me, what is his name? Then what shall I tell them? And God said, in words that would echo for eternity, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. The bush blazed brighter, as if affirming the power of that name. I am, the self-existent one, the eternal presence, the source of all being. God continued, say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation. Moses, overwhelmed and still filled with doubt, tried again to resist. What if they do not believe me or listen to me? So God gave him signs, a staff that would turn into a snake, a hand that could become leprous and be healed again, and even the promise that water from the Nile could be turned into blood. Still, Moses protested, pardon your servant, Lord. I have never been eloquent. I am slow of speech and tongue. And God, not angered but persistent, replied, who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say. Even then, Moses pleaded, please send someone else. Then the Lord's anger kindled, not with fury, but with urgency. God would not let him walk away from his calling. What about your brother, Aaron the Levite? God said. I know he can speak well. He is already on his way to meet you, and he will be glad to see you. And so it was settled. Moses would be God's voice, and Aaron would be his mouthpiece. Together they would confront Pharaoh. Together they would challenge the empire. Together they would begin the liberation of a nation. The bush began to dim, and the sacred silence returned. Moses stood alone, but changed. The wind whistled across the mountain slopes. The sheep, unaware of divine encounters, returned to his side. But Moses had seen the fire that did not consume and heard the voice that would echo through the ages. He picked up his staff, not just a shepherd's tool anymore, but a symbol of purpose. He looked toward Egypt, not as a place of exile, but as a battlefield for God's promise. The journey of deliverance had begun. That day at the burning bush was not just the beginning of Moses' mission, it was the moment when God reintroduced himself to humanity through flame, word, and purpose. A man once broken was now chosen. A bush once ordinary was now holy, and a voice once silent had returned with power. But perhaps the greatest truth of this encounter is this: God still speaks through burning bushes, through moments that defy reason, interrupt comfort, and awaken destiny. Subscribe and like to uncover more chilling tales of power, betrayal, and uncommon stories of the Bible.